Hello ladies and gentlemen, it's Mike here at Games from Scratch with our ongoing reviews of Unity assets in the Unity Fantasy Games and Game Dev Assets bundle. Now this one is actually the most requested asset so far in comments. We already looked at one of the assets from this bundle, and if you haven't heard of this bundle yet, it is awesome. I've done a video on it. I will link that down below. I will link to the bundle itself, and I will link to the earlier video I already did, which is the one on Odin. But today what we are going to be looking at is nodeCanvas. So if you're a Unity developer, this bundle is an absolute no-brainer to pick up, in my humble opinion. And even if you're not a Unity developer, you can use a number of these assets. This guy, 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 and this guy are all basically just assets that you could easily use in Unreal Engine or Godot Engine. I've also done videos on showing you how to do that. But what we are focusing on today is nodeCanvas. Now you'll notice this bundle costs like 30 bucks US, I think it is. No, $25 US. And nodeCanvas alone is $85. So nodeCanvas kind of just makes this one an absolute no-brainer. If you like what you see today, just go pick up the bundle. You're getting it at like a third of the price, and you're getting, a couple dozen other assets thrown in for free. So what is nodeCanvas all about? Well, at first glance, you would think this is Blueprints. This is something like Bolt or Playmaker, or a visual programming language for Unity, and it kind of is, but it kind of isn't. In fact, the company here, Paradox Notion, they make a product called, where did you go? FlowCanvas, which is actually that, but nodeCanvas is actually more specialized. This is about creating three different things: behavior trees, state machines, and dialog trees. And those are all very common in the world of game development. So let's go ahead and look at all three. Now, those are all, by the way, visual. So there's nothing weird going on there. Let's show you a first example in action. This is an example of a finite state machine. Now, finite state machines, you'll find them in the real world all the time. Let's think of, say, a traffic light and the controlling system behind it. There are three different states, and they can only ever really be in one at a time. So you've got green, which means go. You've got yellow, or orange, and that means go faster, and then red means you should probably stop, but you're not going to, so at least hit the gas. At least that's how those rules work in Toronto. But you encounter finite state machines all the time in the world of game development, especially for animation controllers, where you're going to move. You've got a character that's always in one state, but switches through them all the time. A character might be idle, a character might be walking, running, dying, whatever. Finite state machines appear all the time in the world of game development, and let's see one in action right here. So this guy has a finite state machine attached to it, and when we click, the character walks to the location. Okay, so that is pretty common. Normal animation thing, you do this kind of stuff all the time. Well, the soldier has a finite state machine attached to it, and you'll notice right down here, we can edit it. You're actually seeing, since we are running, you can see the finite state machine as it's running. So you're either in an idle, and then idle is finished, so it's currently doing nothing, but there's this conditional. If I left click, it's going to do this one. So I'm going to left click here, and there you see. So we switched into that one, and then we moved out. So this is kind of how finite state machines work. And you might have multiple different states. You might have idle, move, die, and so on and so forth. And this kind of stuff, you do it all the time. Now, the cool thing you can see here, obviously, there is an interface for debugging it. It is a visual programming system. You've also got the ability, so you see here, the move. It's doing a number of things. It's logging, it's going to a position, and it's doing the run animation, and it's doing them all in parallel. You can also do things in sequence if you so wish, and that is essentially what finite state machines are all about. So again, at the traffic light example, you would have it as stop, go, and then go, but you probably shouldn't go, as the three different states. Now you'll notice over here, we've also got Blackboard Variables. That's a very common thing in using nodeCanvas, and this is sort of the way you interface back to the world of Unity. These are variables either passed in or out, so we're passing in the click position here, and that's handed over as a Blackboard variable. We look over here in the inspector, and you will see the Blackboard is hooked up, and there is the Blackboard, and there is the variable that is passed in or out. So that is one way of working with this. This is for creating finite state machines using nodeCanvas. Next up, we're going to look at a different example. So we go scenes. You got it broken down. So we've got some behavior trees and then dialog trees. So we'll do behavior trees next. Simple one, so turret. Okay, so don't save this one. Now this one works basically, I use the arrow keys to move around, and this is, think of this as a gun that's following us. If it gets a line on us, it shoots us. And this is using a behavioral tree approach. So I'm going to use the arrow keys to move like so. And eventually some boxes spawn, and I'm trying to get the boxes without getting shot. But there, bang, I got shot, and we are done. Okay, so we now look at the behavior tree that is controlling this. The behavior tree is another very common way of controlling logic in a game. So here we see there's the turret controller. And you can see by the fact over here that it's got a behavior tree attached to it. You see the behavior tree down here, and we can go ahead and edit said behavior tree. And this is, it's a graph. You've probably seen something like this many times in your world. So basically each loop, think of this as the game loop. Think of this as the update call. We rotate towards the target. Now you're going to notice the target is the character, and that is being passed in via Blackboard Variables. So we just drag the player game object in as the target, and this is how you can go ahead and interact with objects. And then, so rotate towards the target, send the damage, and then log out something that happened. So that is basically the logic here. Pretty straightforward. Now, if you want to go ahead, by the way, there's also some tools here to go along with this stuff. So, for example, over here, we've got a graph console. This is basically for, you can do your own logging out specifically to that console. We've got the Explorer, which is basically a flat view of the tree as opposed to this layout option. You'll also notice you have like a quick navigator over here. So if you start getting into more and more complicated versions, you have that option available. Another thing to notice here is we want to go ahead and add a node into this hierarchy. I just basically go ahead. We can do actions, conditions, composites, decorators, and we can do subgraphs. So we could have this behavior tree could lead to finite state machines or to dialog trees, which we'll see in just a second. So you can sort of make these compound versions. So if we go into actions, we get assign an action task here, and here's where you kind of have the integration back into Unity itself. So you've got things here like game objects. You can find them all, look at, change the visibility of them, so on. We've got movement stuff here, so if we want to move towards, move away, and so on. So you've got your integration. This is like the verbs of your game logic. And again, everything is literally just kind of dragged and dropped together. And that is behavior trees in a nutshell. Again, same concept, using these blackboards as sort of your input outputs to variables in the world. And then you've got tools here for changing the behavior tree setups. Yeah, so that's a behavior tree. And finally, we will show dialog trees, and they are exactly what the name sounds like. Dialog tree is for doing dialogues. So we're not going to save that guy, and I'll show you the demo first, and then we'll get into how it's actually being controlled. Now, don't forget, you can have a behavior tree split off to a dialog tree. So if you're doing like an RPG and you wanted to have some game logic and you wanted to have it branch into conversations conditionally, you can mix and match all three of these types together. Also, they have integration with Playmaker and their own visual scripting system. And I imagine you could probably get Bolt working as well. So if you want to work this into a visual programming environment, you totally can. You can also call these things from C# code. So they can all be integrated in together. All right, so here we got an example. Let's click there. So you see here, there's his conversation, and then eventually, let me zoom that out slightly so you can see me. I can give my options, and it will respond to my options. If you've played any game with branching dialogue, you know exactly what we're dealing with here, and this is something that so many games have to deal with at some point in time. So let's go take a look at the dialogue tree. So you notice we've got a number of objects in the world. So we got the player, John, and Doe, three different characters that can all talk at this point in time. We'll go to the dialog tree over here and take a look at how it works. So this is kind of the exact same setup. It looks a lot like a behavior tree, but this is for conversation. So you see, we've got these linked to, you can have an audio file play, by the way, so it doesn't have to be text only. So you don't even need text. So you could have this be 100% verbally said or whatever, or a bit of mix and match. So you've got the different characters here. So you see we've got the three different actors here. We can add more parameters if you so wish. But you see, it comes down here. So the first person says this, then the second person says this, and then you go to the player has their three different choices. And I think this is their default. After 6 seconds, it will pick this path. So we've got the three different options that branch off. And then as a result, it goes down here to this player saying this, then this. And then you're seeing here, we've got conditional variables inside that you can also set. So you've got variables being set as you go through this. So you see here, the bool variable is set to true. In this case, variables are set, and then you can jump out to the results of it. So obviously you can see here the dialog trees are used to make branching dialogues. And you can mix in code. You can also call out, like here, for example, you play a certain animation on that choice or that path of things. And you can basically keep stringing things together this way. So you see here, you've got options. You can continue to say something. You've got branching logic here, including probabilities. We can jump to different areas. And of course, you can jump to a sub-diagraph tree. So if you can break things down into as many options as you want. And then we get into the actions. All of those things you saw earlier are still available. So if you wanted to, you can put some physics in there. You could move a character. You could switch the camera. You fade out, fade in on the camera, and so on. Now, you don't have 100% of everything you would. This is where this isn't a full-blown visual programming system like what you would expect from something like Bolt or Playmaker. This is a subset, and it's a consistent subset, by the way. But I think you can actually expand it as well. Also, you have the ability to send messages between things. So you can, or as you might have just saw there, oops, right there, you can execute out to functions. So you can make this work just about however you want, but this isn't designed to program the entirety of your game. This is designed to do dialogues, to do behavior trees, and to do finite state machines. And those things are really common in games, and you can do like a mix and match. Like I said, they already have integrations out there for tools like Playmaker and a number of third-party products out there. So if you want to like integrate this into your own development stack, it should be pretty flawless. So really what you're doing is you're making portions of your game visually controlled. And the nice thing about this kind of setup, this logic that we just saw here, these dialog trees, any artist should be able to handle this. This isn't really programmer stuff. Now, programmers could set up, some functions that they call out to that change the game world. You would set up all the variables that they could potentially set. And by the way, you can create global Blackboard variables as well. So if you want to have it not tied to the individual object, you can create a global Blackboard. So if you had like a game state of things you were tracking, player is liked in this country, yes or no, or a value or increment or whatever, you can set that up as well. But this allows you to set things into the way that like a designer can go in and easily tweak the logic of your game, but not really have to know too much beyond that. So that is it. That is the nodeCanvas. Again, normally 85 bucks. This entire thing is 25 bucks. And yeah, like I said, this bundle, if you're a Unity developer, this bundle is pretty much a no-brainer. We're about halfway through right now. We've got 8 days left as of the time this is published. I'm still going to be covering a couple more of these. I'm going to definitely take a look at RPG Builder, I think, and Octave 3D. I know a lot of you guys have requested those. Apparently this one is NVIDIA only. It's a light mapping solution, so I'm not sure if I'm going to cover that one. But if there's something else here that you really want to see, the MMO kit or something similar, yeah, I will do my best to cover it. By the way, there is another one coming mid-month, I believe. So unfortunately, if you're not a Unity developer, sorry for all the Unity content on the channel. I cover the news as the news comes to me, and sometimes it goes a little heavy in one way or another. And this bundle is just such a good deal that I'm going to focus on the contents of it. And if you do like it, please do use my link down below. It gives you an option of directing a portion of your support to support Game from Scratch, and I always appreciate when you do that. So that is nodeCanvas. Again, it's not a true or a total visual programming system. If you want something more, end-to-end like blueprints, you're looking for something more like, FlowCanvas or, God, I've talked about all of them, Bolt, Playmaker, etc. But if you want to kind of visualize portions of your game's logic, quite often finite state machines are used, again, really commonly in animations. Dialog trees and behavior trees, those are all very common things. The nice thing is you set them up and your developers can set them up once, and then your designers can tweak them to their heart's content. And you don't really need to know programming to control those individual aspects of the game. So let me know what you think of nodeCanvas, if there's something else here you really want me to cover, and that's it. I will talk to you all later. Goodbye.